Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Challenge Accepted. This is a story about Craig. It took place about 10 years ago. He worked for an IT company, maintaining the mainframe and other technical needs throughout the building, along with electrical safety checks. He was always a bit OCD, and this helped him being on top of things that needed to be sorted. He had custom spreadsheets documenting the last 10 years of repairs on everything he was responsible for. This sheet by the 5-year mark had already given him a fairly good idea of what items were likely to fail, either due to updates or physical parts failing due to the 24-hour running of the system. There was a period of a week where he was ahead and decided to get ahead of his upcoming repairs, checking the items and replacing what needed to be done. 2 weeks later, he was sitting in his office when the VP arrived and was on the rounds. She noticed that all 3 times she passed, he was sitting idle in his office. Outraged that he was being paid for doing nothing, she had his boss pull him up. The VP noticed you haven't done much today and pulled your work log for the last few weeks. You've only logged 4 jobs in 2 weeks. I've been ahead for the last couple of weeks just knocking off jobs before they came up to make time for the bigger jobs that are about to come up next week. Well, you are paid to work, not sit about. If you want to sit about, do it at home. Well, I've got some holiday time still to take. If you give me a week to organize the cover and take care of the large jobs, I'll take time off. Deal. Off you go. Enjoy your holiday. But what about the work next week? No buts. You're on holiday. Effective immediately. I'll clear it with HR. Now off you go. Cue malicious compliance. Craig decided to not try and reiterate just how much work was due next week and went on holiday for 2 weeks, turning his work phone off. In that 2 weeks, due to our lack of warning, the tech from another center that usually covered wasn't available. At the same time, there were safety issues, software updates and other minor issues that were expected. Not to mention the dozens of unexpected issues that came up. When Monday, after his holiday came up, he turned his phone on to find 20+ texts. His phone inbox was full of voicemails and he had dozens of emails from panicking management. He got into work and was set upon. Where have you been? We needed you. X, Y and Z all failed while you were gone and we didn't have cover. Craig smiled and reminded the boss about the conversation 2 weeks prior and also had a coworker that overheard the entire thing back him up. After that, not a single manager dared to question his slow week. Not even the VP. Challenge accepted. Challenge won. The next story is called Measuring Productivity. My company decided to implement third-party software to track employee productivity. And they started this way before the pandemic and remote work. All technology teams were being monitored, and I worked on a product team under technology. The main metric they used was how much new code was being written, which is silly, because even programmers don't write new code very often. Updated code didn't count, and those were most of the tickets I managed. And meanwhile, I was always fixing other people's code, and I was the go-to person for any escalations and releases. When this first started, I saw a dozen emails about writing more code, and I thought it was a joke until I got an unscheduled meeting with the department head. He scolded me for having written 0 code that month, and despite pushing that my role doesn't exactly require me to write new code, he said, "Sorry, this is the new world." Fine, I found some old code libraries that no one used anymore, but that was still active. Every month I would copy the libraries, delete them and then replace them. I tested it out, and that counted as new code. Before all this, I was a top performer up for promotion. But my reviews from before didn't count anymore, and all that mattered were these metrics. I tried to keep my shenanigans under the radar. But one month I did the delete and replace move twice, because I forgot if I did my monthly coding quota, and did it again, just in case. Well, that quarter I won an award for most prolific engineer, and it came with $2,000. That got the attention of my manager, who was luckily a cool guy and openly complained about how stupid the productivity tracking software was. He knew I wasn't writing code, and neither was he, so I finally told him my secret. He thought it was hilarious and had been just replacing the lines of code to bypass the quota, but he didn't think about doing entire libraries. I knew I wouldn't get in trouble with him, and he even nominated me for a recognition award, which came with another $1,000 in gift cards. I did eventually get promoted, over 6 months later than initially discussed, but things got even worse with the company monitoring productivity during 2020. It was so bad to the point where they were logging how many times you were away from your computer for more than 5 minutes. People actually got fired for taking too many breaks between 9 AM to 5 PM. Let's just say I was taking my laptop everywhere out of paranoia. It didn't increase productivity, but it for sure killed morale. Thankfully, I got out of there. The rest of my team was not so lucky, but I still get texts from my old manager and team about how they were using my shenanigans. Ultimately, I got a nice 3K in awards, 15K for the promotion, and a lifetime of drinks for my team for beating the system. The third story is called Not on the Schedule. I work in a manufacturing plant for a multinational company producing microchips. I'm the shift lead engineer on the night shift for the front end of the week, Sunday to Wednesday. There's very little oversight from management, except when I see them in the morning on my way out the door. The machines we work on are huge and require fairly strategic planning to get the most we can out of them. In recent months, the day shift team has been slacking on their scheduled maintenance items. Normally, this isn't a big deal, since we are understaffed just like just about every other company in America right now, and we pick up the slack where we can on the night shift. The machines run 24 hours a day, so if you have to pass work to the incoming shift, it isn't an issue, and everyone tends to help out everyone. The problem comes in when the day shift or the other end of the week moves scheduled maintenance off of their shift but doesn't move it into our scheduled work calendar. When the machines reach their critical threshold, they shut themselves down until the work is performed. This is normally at midnight on days I'm working. Well, as it happens, this has been occurring more and more over the past few weeks. And I've been letting my senior manager know that's why we've been seeing an availability drop. He is a newer senior manager. I try to explain the critical thresholds to him, and how we need to at least keep the calendar accurate so we don't have any surprises by machines shutting themselves down unexpectedly. He didn't really seem to want to listen to this and brushed me off. If it isn't on the calendar, don't work on that machine. Cue malicious compliance. On Sunday night, when I get to work, the schedule is completely empty. Not uncommon for weekends. But wouldn't you know it, 3 maintenance items had been moved from the back end of the week and were never rescheduled. So at midnight, 3 machines shut themselves down for maintenance. But I've been told if it isn't on the calendar, I can touch those machines. I walk up to the production floor and tell all my technicians that we won't be working on any of those machines as they aren't scheduled for us to complete. Per the area senior manager, we don't touch anything unless it's on the calendar. They've been getting more and more frustrated recently with this, so their eyes light up as I tell them we won't be completing any of the work. Then comes Monday morning. I tell the incoming shift and my direct manager about the machines, and they have a good laugh about the situation. It's only roughly 2 hours of work per machine, so I didn't completely screw over the day shift. And then I run into my senior manager on my way out the door. I casually let him know we have 3 machines that have been down for 6 hours and needed to be added to the schedule so somebody can start working on them. His eyes just about pop out of his head. How could you let 3 machines sit down for half the night and not even start on them? Were there other machines down that stopped you from getting to them? No. You just told me if it isn't on the calendar, don't touch it. His face went beet red and I saw the vein on his temple start throbbing, but he knew I was right. Since then, the calendar has been pretty dang accurate, and if I see a tool going critical, he's now informed me that I'm allowed to work on it to keep the production flowing. The next story is called No More Questions. A few years ago, I worked as an administrator at a finance company. It was my job to create contract documents and ensure everything was secure and legit, especially when we are purchasing from a private seller. So, one day, I'm asked to email a new private seller about something our client is purchasing from him. I sent my standard email, noting all the things we need from this private seller. Let's call him Bob. Bob called me shortly after receiving the email and was super slimy on the phone. He was being flirty and kept saying he wanted to meet for coffee and discuss me working for them instead. After one standard email, I got a bad feeling about this guy, like he was trying to get away with something. So I made a mental note to really watch what he sent in. Over the course of the next few days, he sent in everything except what I asked for. He was getting ruder every time we spoke or emailed and was calling our client, telling them how we were the worst company he could have chosen to deal with. He said he has the right to not supply the info we are looking for. And of course that's true, but that cancels the sale, which he didn't want. So one morning, he finally sends me the document I was waiting for. In his email to me, Bob made it very clear that we were ridiculous and this is the last thing he is providing us, so don't even bother asking. I opened it up, and it was clearly fraudulent. Anyone at my office would have said the same thing. There's no way we were going to accept it. After discussing it with my sales guy, I responded to the email. Hi Bob, thank you for sending this over. However, as it's been clearly edited in a fraudulent way, we cannot accept it. You mentioned in your email that we shouldn't ask for anything else, so I won't. We have spoken to our mutual client and have agreed to cancel this transaction and won't be speaking with you further. Have a great day. He ended up calling both our mutual client and the sales guy in a panic, wanting to backtrack and get the sale done and would provide what we need. Obviously, we blacklisted this guy and never did business with him again. The last story is called Just Do It. This happened probably 12 years ago, when video rental stores still roamed the earth. I worked in one such store that also sold phones and wireless plans. So all the customer service workers were also salespeople. One day, in the late morning, I answer our phone. It is our other branch across town. They had a customer who wanted to buy a plan and a brand new iPhone. But after getting the plan set up, they realized they didn't have the correct model and color the guy wanted. We had that phone, so they said they would send him down. Easy commission for me. Awesome. The guy shows up. I already have the phone put aside. I open up the plan that was created for him, but never put through, and discover it's a monthly plan with no data, very few minutes and no long distance. Basically, the cheapest plan you could get, other than pay as you go, but it's for a freaking iPhone. Okay sir, I have the plan pulled up here. Let's just make sure everything is correct and I will print the contract. It says, it's fine, the other guy already did it. Alright, I just want to check because just do it. I don't need to go over everything again. I already drove across town for this. Alright, you don't want to go over it and would rather give me attitude. Print, sign, pay, and enjoy your $1,000 doorstop. 1 hour later, the guy comes storming in. My phone doesn't work. What seems to be the problem with it? I can't use the internet. The plan you choose did not include data. Who would get a plan with no data on a smartphone? That's the plan you signed up for. He ended up storming out while yelling, after I told him he'd have to call the service desk to cancel the plan. You don't have to read the fine print, but at least be sure of the terms you are agreeing to. But you still should read the fine print, especially for phone plans. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.